Once upon a time, near a dark forest, lived a poor woodcutter with his 2 children, Hansel and Gretel, and their cruel stepmother. Times were hard, and there was barely enough food for the family to survive. One night, the stepmother convinced the woodcutter to abandon the children deep in the woods to fend for themselves, as they could no longer afford to feed them. Though the woodcutter was heartbroken, he reluctantly agreed. But Hansel, overhearing their plan, secretly gathered white pebbles, and the next day, as they ventured into the forest, dropped them along the path. After being left alone, Hansel and Gretel followed the trail of pebbles back home. The stepmother, furious at their return, demanded they be taken farther into the forest the next day. This time, Hansel, unable to gather pebbles, dropped crumbs of bread to mark the path. However, the birds of the forest ate all the crumbs, leaving the children hopelessly lost. For days, Hansel and Gretel wandered the forest, starving and exhausted. Finally, they came across a small house made entirely of gingerbread, cakes, and sweets. Overcome with hunger, they began to eat the delicious walls of the house. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and an old woman appeared, inviting them inside. Little did they know, she was a wicked witch who lured children with sweets to eat them. She locked Hansel in a cage, planning to fatten him up for a meal, while forcing Gretel to work as her servant. Each day, the witch would check on Hansel to see if he was fat enough to eat, but Hansel cleverly held out a bone instead of his finger, tricking the nearly blind witch into thinking he was still too thin. After weeks of this, the frustrated witch decided to eat Hansel regardless. As the witch prepared her oven, she ordered Gretel to check if it was hot enough. Sensing an opportunity, Gretel pretended not to understand and asked the witch to demonstrate. The impatient witch leaned into the oven, and with all her strength, Gretel pushed her inside and slammed the door shut. With the witch gone, Gretel freed Hansel, and together they discovered the witch's treasure hoard hidden in the house. They filled their pockets with gold and jewels and set off for home. After several days, they finally found their way back to their father, who had been miserable without them. The cruel stepmother had disappeared, and the woodcutter was overjoyed to see his children safe and sound. With the witch's riches, they lived happily ever after, never to go hungry again.
If you liked our video, please subscribe and hit like button. Thanks.